everyone. Today I want to do a more in-depth video on the expense tracker app that I use on a daily basis to keep track of my spending and my finances. I'm doing this video now because I checked my bank account today and my salary just came in, which is usually when I'll do something like a monthly setup. Because my pay comes in around the 5th of the next month, I usually will do this before my pay comes in at the very start of the month, but I didn't do that this time because I was very busy with work, and also I thought about making a video about it the next time I have to do my monthly setup. So let's begin. The app that I use is called Money Lover. I've been using this app for almost 9 years at this point, since I was in JC. The app has evolved with me throughout the years, through JC, uni, internship, unemployment, present employment. The app itself has gone through so many changes. I've seen features phased in and out, and I'm also so proud of how far the app has come. The team behind this app seems really driven to improve the user interface, the functionality and all that, and that shows in the 9 years that I've used it. I am using the premium version of this app. I've had the premium membership since JC when I was still using it on my Android phone. I can't remember how much the app cost back then, but when I check it now, I believe the premium lifetime membership is $26 in SGD, and that is a one-time fee, not a monthly or annual subscription. They do have a monthly subscription service, but it's for the use of their linked wallet function, which I'll explain later. What the premium version of the app gives you is firstly no ads, and secondly access to all the functions that they have. I haven't used the free version in years, so I'm not entirely sure what functions are available on the free version, but I know that you don't have access to unlimited wallets, which is a feature on Money Lover that I find so useful and integral to the way I use the app. Okay, let me actually bring you to the app so that I can show you what I'm talking about. Pressing on the top left corner here, I can pull up the overview of all my wallets. What wallet refers to in Money Lover is, think of it like separate envelopes of money or bank accounts. Each wallet is a separate account, and you can categorize your transactions into different accounts. You can choose to exclude some wallets from being included in your total up here, as you can see from the wallets I have under this section. On top of that, there are also different types of wallets that Money Lover offers you. Let's press Edit at the top right here and the Add button. Money Lover has 4 types of wallets. There is the basic wallet, which is the one I use the most, linked wallet, which is linked to an actual bank. So far, none of Singapore's banks can be linked. It's mostly Vietnamese banks, Indonesia, Malaysia, but not Singapore. There's credit wallet, which is meant for you to keep track of your credit card expenses. So by default, it's excluded from your total. I've tried it before, but I personally prefer the flexibility of the basic wallet, though I think it's a very useful tool and it has its use. Lastly is the gold wallet, which I personally use for my LASIK fund and taxes wallet. It looks like this, and you can add the goal value, starting amount, as well as the end date for this goal. It's the most limited in terms of functionality, but for its purpose, which is to simply keep track of the amount of money saved towards a particular goal, I think it serves that role pretty well. I believe all these wallet types are available even with the free version, so you can try it out and play around with it and see what you like. Alright, back to my main screen. There is a lot on my screen right now, so let me give some context before I explain further. The way I use Money Lover is, yes, as an expense tracker, but because the app's functions are so robust, I also use it to track and manage my cash flow. It's a money management tool for me on a day-to-day basis. This total up here tallies with the money that I have in my main bank account. I have one main bank account with DBS, and it's the DBS multiplier account. I'm sure most of you watching will be familiar with it if you're a working adult. It's one of those high interest rates bank accounts where you can get higher interest by doing things like crediting your salary and using their credit cards. Within DBS, you can open multiple checking accounts, which is called My Account. And if you go to the main page of your DBS iBanking app or website, it will show you the total amount that you have in all the accounts, and then you can also go in and see how much you have in all the individual accounts. So I basically recreated that structure within MoneyLover. All these wallets are individual bank accounts, and the total refers to the total amount of money within my DBS account as a whole. Down here, what I have excluded from the total are things like my actual physical cash wallet, my emergency fund, and my retirement fund, which are housed in separate accounts outside of this DBS family of accounts. I want to point out that the first 7 wallets that you see here, these are all under one bank account. I've indicated with this long dash so that I know at a glance that these all fall under my DBS multiplier account. The accounts without the dash, my LASIK fund, taxes, joint accounts, these are actual separate bank accounts, the My account I mentioned earlier. I'm sorry if this is confusing, I'll try to be as clear as possible. When I say separate bank account, I mean that the bank account has its own bank account number. So my LASIK fund is in a separate bank account with its own unique bank account number, and so is my taxes 2022 account. For partner joint account and mother joint account, they are, as named, joint accounts with both my partner and my mum, where they also have access to the money within it. I hope that's clear. Back to the wallets at the top. The reason why these dashed wallets are not in actual separate bank accounts is simple. It's very troublesome to have so many accounts, and also these separate wallets are more for my reference and planning, which is why I'm doing it on the MoneyLover app and not on the DBS iBanking app. Whereas things like LASIK and taxes, because it's money that I'm putting aside for something far away in the future, it helps me visually, mentally, to see that money in its own separate bank account. Did I have to create an actual separate bank account for it? No. But the good thing about these bank accounts, the My Account checking accounts, is that they're very easy to open and close and with no fees to do either. This also means that the interest rates are negligible, by the way. These accounts are not savings accounts by any means. Think of it as just another envelope to park your money in. The second reason is, I do a lot of transfers within these wallets, as you'll see. I primarily work out of my DBS multiplier account, which is the account that I receive my salary in and that I pay my bills from. These wallets within MoneyLover are just a way for me to categorize and section my money, almost like budgeting in a way. But if you've seen my last video, the actual budgeting is done in a separate Excel sheet. What's important to me is that the total up here always tallies with the total reflected in my DBS account. As long as that total tallies, I know that I am aware of where my money is going, i.e. my cash flow, because I have it all written down and accounted for. I'm going to focus on these top 3 wallets up here: spending, credit card spending, and fixed expenses. Let's go into spending. You'll see that there are already some transactions, and that's why it shows a negative total at the top. I'm going to add my salary in right now by pressing this green plus button at the bottom to add a transaction. Now for the categories. This is a whole other feature on its own. MoneyLover's categories are so highly customizable that you can really have fun with it and go wild. Their icons are also so cute. Over the years, I've fine-tuned my categories and customized it to my own personal spending and lifestyle. I'll go into edit here so I can show you. There is the default expense and income section, and there is also this debt loan section. You can only customize the expense and income categories, and you can also have a parent category and shelf other subcategories under it. For example, under food, I have groceries, drink, and dining out. This parent category and subcategories will come in useful during the report section, which I'll talk about later. I'll scroll down slowly from the top so you can see all the individual categories I created if you would like to refer to it for your own use. Oh, one more thing about categories. It's transferable across wallets and also customizable within wallets. However, this only applies to the basic wallet option. I'll show you what I mean. For instance, if I'm creating a new wallet, and it has to be a basic wallet, I can choose the standard categories offered by MoneyLover, which are these, or I can go in and copy the categories from an existing wallet. This saves you so much time from having to recreate and customize your categories for every new wallet if you already had a set template or structure in place. However, this copy is a one-time thing, and future changes to your categories will not be synced across wallets. So for example, my sinking fund wallet has the exact same categories as my spending wallet, but any changes I make to the categories in my sinking fund wallet will not affect the categories in my spending wallet. I hope that was clear. Where was I? Oh yeah, I'm adding my income, right? So that's $2,800 under salary. You can add a note if you'd like. I'll just put here Feb 2022 salary. Under Add More Details, you can input even more information. I usually don't touch any of these except for this last one here, the Exclude from Report. By default, with a new transaction, it will be switched off, which means that the transaction will be included in the report. So that's a good segue into the report function of MoneyLover. I'll take you to my expenses for last month so that I can show you how the report works. The report is the second tab here on the bottom. This top section here, I don't really pay attention to all that much. This opening balance, ending balance, and net income. This tool is not very useful to me. What I always look at are the pie charts at the bottom. Let's look at my income pie chart very quickly. There's my salary. Last month, I also had a small medical claim. I sold a few things on Carousel, which is this selling category. And this cashback refers to mostly my credit card cashback. Now to the expense pie chart. Remember what I said about parent categories and subcategories? What you're seeing here are only the parent categories. If you press this family tree icon at the top of the screen, you can toggle it to show all the subcategories instead, and it gives a further breakdown of your spending in each individual category sorted by amount. Honestly, it's so robust and impressive that I want to give huge kudos to every single person who works at the MoneyLover team. If you love looking at data and pie charts, this would be so satisfying for you. I'm not very good with mathematics or even data analysis, but wow, there is something about a pie chart breakdown of my own personal spending that is so satisfying and intriguing to look at. And so back to the main page. We just input my salary, right? So right now you can see that my total is updated to reflect the new income and my spending wallet is no longer negative. Now, if everything I have covered so far has been very confusing and information overload, get ready because it's about to get even more confusing from here. Honestly, this is all very extra of me and you could just make do with the transaction and report function and call it a day. But I want to show you the possibilities with this amazing app. Next, I want to talk about this wallet I have here, my credit card spending wallet. But first, I want to briefly talk about credit cards and how I use them. I will make a more in-depth video about credit cards in the future, but for now, the basic concept of credit cards is instead of directly debiting from your bank account to pay for something, the bank pays for you first. And at the end of the month, you get a bill from the bank of everything they paid for you first and you have to pay back the bank. So in a way, I'm borrowing money from the bank. So if I pay $5 for a coffee today on the 4th of March, the bank will bill me at the end of March or beginning of April for my coffee today. So what happens, and what I think many people do, is that they might use April's salary to pay for March expenses, especially with credit card bills because that payment is due much later. Another problem is when you use a credit card, because you are borrowing money from the bank instead of taking it directly from your bank account, there is a risk of overspending and then not having enough money to pay off your credit card bill because you don't see immediately how much it is you have spent, compared to how much money you actually have to spend. And so, to prevent myself from falling into that trap of living off next month's salary, as well as to make sure that I don't accidentally overspend, which has happened before when I first started using credit cards, in order to prevent that, I came up with this practice of using my credit card like a debit card. This is not a new concept. Many people have talked about it before on blogs and on YouTube. How I use my credit card as a debit card is this. Every time I make a transaction on my credit card, I will transfer that amount from my spending wallet to my credit card spending wallet. Let me give an example. I spent $7 on lunch today and I paid for it with my credit card. Instead of pressing the green plus button at the bottom, which I would normally do if it was a debit transaction, I press the 3 dots on the top right here and select Transfer Money. I'll input all the details here. And then here, I will select Credit Card Spending Wallet. And under Category, you can see that I customized the categories to show all my current credit cards. Let me select DBS Live Fresh here. So by default, Money Lover has the option of Exclude from Report turned on for all transfer transactions. So I always have to untick that so that my transaction will be reflected in my pie chart report. So there you have my transaction written down in my spending wallet, and it will show up in my report as well. And another great feature is this transfer expense is linked. So if I were to delete it, it will prompt me to ask if I want to delete the transferred fund in the other wallet as well. This act of transferring, instead of simply recording down a transaction, does a few things. Firstly, of course, I have my expense written down. But secondly, I also have a record of how much I owe banks for my future credit card bill. Let's go into my credit card spending wallet for a minute so I can show you. I'll show you last month. I'll go into the report here, and if I look under income, I can see the breakdown of how much I've spent on what card. Under expense are my credit card payment transactions. And also, when I get cashback from credit cards, I will transfer that money out of this wallet back into my spending wallet because that is money that the bank has given back to me so that I don't have to pay it to them. So essentially, my credit card spending wallet only holds money that I will have to pay back to the bank eventually. Finally, this act of transferring from wallet to wallet also maintains equilibrium for my overall total. Because I am taking money out of spending but putting it back into another wallet, there is no change to my total. The money in my bank account remains the same even though I spent that $7 because I put it on a credit card. It's only when that credit card bill comes out that I am making that payment, and only then that money will be taken out of my bank account. Alright, I'll also briefly mention the fixed expenses wallet right below the credit card spending wallet here. It works the same, except that it's not for credit card spending, it's for money that I'm putting aside for gyro payments later on. So payments that are directly debited from my bank account, like my HDB loan payment, my service and conservancy charges, that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do now is refer to my Excel sheet and start making all the transfers based on what I have budgeted this month. I'll fast forward through this bit. I'll also put a timestamp on screen so that you can skip ahead if you want to. Oh, I want to point out for electricity, because I'll only know my electricity bill, how much electricity I've used at the end of the month. I usually have a benchmark of about $40, and then when my SP bill and my electricity bill comes out, I will go in and edit this value to reflect the actual payment that I have to make for that month. This works for my water and gas bill as well. Alright, I'm done. I'll touch on other features that MoneyLover offers as well. Let's check out the Planning tab. There's budgets, events, recurring transactions, and bills. And also each of these functions can be customized to the wallet. If you press the top left-hand corner here, you can toggle between each wallet's Planning tab. Under my spending wallet, I've used the budgets tool before. I don't use it every month, but it helps to keep track of how much of my budget I have left for a certain category. I'll add a budget for my food spending, for example, for demonstration. I've also used recurring transactions before, though sometimes I find that there might be a bit of lag for when that transaction is supposed to show up. I still use it though, for things like my Netflix in my sinking fund wallet. Lastly is bills, which I've actually never used before because I'm quite manual with all my transactions given how I've set this up and how I use the app. But I'm sure it will be useful for those of you who want to use MoneyLover as a regular expense tracker. In this last tab, the accounts page, there is this debts feature where you can track your debts and your repayments. There is also this tools page. I don't think the ATM and the bank finder will be very useful in Singapore, but there's a tip calculator and an interest rate calculator. This is when you know I've been with this app for so long. I want to talk about the coins or credits feature. If you see in the top right hand corner, it's not even a feature anymore because they've long since phased it out. So a few years ago, MoneyLover did this thing where they would give you coins for every transaction you entered into the app. I'm sure this was to remind and incentivize users to go into the app and record their transactions. And so I accumulated all these coins, but there wasn't really any way to use them except to go into their store and use the coins to buy icon packs. So that's the only thing I did with them. If you select icons here, you can see that you can buy icons with real money, or you can use your credits to buy them. And that's how I got all my cute icons for the various categories. It's from buying these icon packs with the coins I got. You see now I have 13k coins, right? I used to have maybe 90k worth of coins. I can't remember anymore, but I had a lot. And I bought many icon packs that were really cute and that I could customize my categories with. For example, this daily care one, and this income one. So I don't know, I feel like this is a remnant feature that they have given up on, but they're not removing it completely because people still have credits, and I have no way of earning more credits because they don't reward you for adding transactions anymore. So I guess all I can do with them is just buy more icon packs until I have no more credits left. So that's just an anecdote to show you how long I've been with this app to know that this used to be a thing. And I think that's all I have to say today about the MoneyLover app. When I was thinking about making this video, I really thought it would be a fast one to film because I would just screen record myself adding the transactions. But actually, I have so much to say about how and why I use the app. I guess it's too late to say, but I'm not sponsored by MoneyLover in any way. They don't even have affiliate links that I'm aware of. This is just my opinion and my experience of using it for the past decade. I know just how overkill my methods may seem, and I'm fully aware that most of you may not even care for these customizable features and think that it's too complicated. But I think that MoneyLover can be as simple or as complicated as you make it, and that is what I love so much about it. If I somehow lost my premium membership, I wouldn't even think twice about purchasing it again. That's how valuable this tool is to me. It may seem time-consuming to set up, but it's worth putting in the time because the benefits of setting up this system are just exponential. I have been budgeting since I was 16 in JC on MoneyLover, And because I have been making it a habit since then, it's second nature to me now to always keep track of my expenses, to be aware of where my money is going. I don't have to wonder about where my money went this month because I know where it went. I have it written down. Most importantly, I hope that you can find a system that works for you and that will motivate you to use it every day. You might not like Money Lover. You may find another app that is much more suited to your needs, tastes, your lifestyle, something that is easy, straightforward, and intuitive that will make you want to use it. Put as little friction between you and the act of writing down your expenses. That's the most important. I wish you all the best on your financial journey, and please remember to take care of yourself physically and mentally. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one.